Frankfurt, Germany. Right now, speaking from the Steigenberger Frankfurter Hof, one of the most exquisite, most impressive hotels in the world, I might say. And first of all, Dr. Florian, before saying good morning, yes, because in Frankfurt now it's 6:54. In Brazil, it's 1:54. So good morning, and right after you uh, wake everybody up for a good German coffee and with a Brazilian twist. We go for the opening of this. Good morning, Dr. Florian.
Good morning, Mario.
Well, okay, so let's have the opening video here to welcome you to the Art of Science. Welcome here, and it's a pleasure having you again.
It's a pleasure for me.
Hello again, Dr. Florian. How are you? Beautiful Frankfurt. As I said previously, I've had the opportunity of being twice in Frankfurt, one of them with you. And it's a great
Yeah,
city, great memories from the city.
yeah, it's a great city and a great hotel.
Before we start, it's a great hotel. We got a video from the hotel. You filmed an event in the hotel, so I'd like to show everybody how magnificent this hotel is. What we're talking about, it's a precious. This is art. We're going to talk about the art of science. This
Mm.
is art, if you can call anything else. Just a second. So everybody, pay attention to what a magnificent place. Well, that's it. Beautiful place. One of the most beautiful hotels I've seen. The Steigenberger Frankfurter Hof. So, thanks to the guys at the hotel. How good is it, Dr. Florian?
Well, first, it is a historical hotel from 1876
Uh
something.
huh.
It's one of the oldest hotel, but
And
at
in
the
the
same time,
and in the description you sent us, it says that has a lot of sustainability. And before, since we're talking about sustainability, I would like to bring up a point that we discussed earlier, and I think you talk about the sustainability of the hotel, and you also talk about the 50th anniversary of the Conference on the Human Environment that happened in Stockholm, promoted by the United Nations. And for the first time, you talked about environment. And 20 years later, we had Rio 92. Yes. And I have the honor of talking to one of the most prestigious and recognized scientists in this field in the world. Do we have what to celebrate in this 50th anniversary of the Stockholm Conference?
well, it's kind of a mixed reality. First, the Stockholm Conference was the first idea to protect the environment. So protection of the environment was one, and the other one was um, a sensibility, the awareness that the uh, the world has limited resources. So these were the two you know uh, ideas of that conference, but. Uh, Actually, it is the first mentioning of the sustainability really as a concept was defined in Rio. years later. Mostly the Stockholm conference was about awareness of protecting the environment and saying that the world has limited resources. There were many books published, but at that time, most of them predicting catastrophe in the world, predicting catastrophe in the world.
And there
So
were
there
even
is
some authors that say that we had to control the. I remember that I saw you mentioned this in a lecture in Rio de Janeiro at SIPS,
yeah,
and you mentioned this that this catastrophe writers some predicted that we had to control the number of human beings in the world, otherwise we would starve to death.
yeah. Yeah,
Is that
it's a
right?
long history that we can try to cover very shortly here. But there were two books, especially published in the United States, about a crisis, catastrophe will happen in the world in 1975. Another one, the population bomb that forecasted that forecasted the problem. The population growth in a in a progressive, I mean, in a geometric progression instead of limited of linear progression of the food and world resources. So all predicted catastrophe in around 1975, 1976, or a little bit later. But today we are at 2022, and we are still alive, although those catastrophes were predicted since 1976. So that's why this was part of the idea at the time. That's why the conference of Stockholm, to protect the environment and to raise awareness for limited resources. However, there was a problem because they all books and at the time predicted catastrophe within 10 years.
I
So
see.
nothing happened. Today we are alive. And why? Not because the theory were wrong. Uh, it is proven now that the population increase geometry in a geometric progression and the food and resources have increased in a linear food, especially linear. This was the prediction. The issue, what the correction on sustainability concept has to be done is that uh, the role of science made it possible that those catastrophes didn't happen. We are today in 2022, and still those
Yes.
predictions, dire predictions, are not became not true.
So this
Not because,
catastrophic predictions that are 50 years old, that
yeah,
the
50
world
years
will
old.
disappear
That's not the
because
case.
of
It has been since 1766, 17 in the 18th century. Uh,
with Malthus.
predictions, similar predictions like this, but not the one thing is for sure. All those predictions are based on the increase of population and population. Those prediction of increase of population um, in a geometric progression were all correct. The science behind it was correct.
I see.
The issue is that the solution were found and were searched outside the role of science. So basically, we're saying we have to decrease the population with war, and we will let some country die because we will not be able to feed all population in the world, etc., etc. There were dire and racist predictions. So one of the suggestion was at the time that we have to differentiate between countries, and we have to define who is worth living and who is worth letting die. So this is solution were found outside science. So science of diagnosing the problem was good, but the solution was outside science. So uh, this was missing, has been missing forever actually, and the science made it possible that we don't have a catastrophe today, although their models were good.
Now,
Science made possible that the production of food and food products in India increased much higher than the population. And today, if you get the United Nations, data, you'll see that the population has increased around, let's say, plus minus 140%, and the food production has increased by from different food production from 200 to even to 400%. So science made it possible that the food production overpassed the increase of the population. That's why we're alive today. So this was the role of science that will always have been overlooked in finding a solution. The science has been referred to make the diagnostic of solution,
I see.
but has not been treated as such as a solution provider, and this was has been missing all these years, and that's why we developed the new sustainability framework as
Hmm.
Flogen, where the three criteria that were first developed in Rio: protection of the environment, in the economic development, so basically economic growth, and social development. These three criteria should be fulfilled simultaneously. And what are the actors? Because there was a big confusion around the world. Everybody starting to use sustainability as a word, but everybody was putting in it everything they like. Nothing wrong. Everything is important, but it became confusing. It became mixed up between. All were thrown in one bag. Actors, goals, criteria. So nobody was saying let's put the indigenous rights, let's put the social and culture concepts, etc., etc. And then this confusion made us create the new sustainability framework, which has three actors or three goals: science and technology, governments and management, and education and social and civil society. So these are three pillars. They can help achieve sustainability, the three criteria simultaneously, or they can impede it. So basically, these criteria have to cooperate. That's basically a table with three legs.
I
Any of those
see.
legs goes away, the whole structure disappears, the whole structure, doesn't stand. So this is a big contribution that we, as a Flogen, has done in the concept of sustainability, as
It sure
we
is.
call it sustainability framework. It's very important because clear out the confusion
And,
and
and,
differentiate between actors and goals and different different actors, between actor goals and criteria.
and Dr. Flora, 50 years after Stockholm, in Geneva, the United Nations received scientists, and you opened the 2022 official Year of Glass ceremony in the United Nations, and you presented this framework, this sustainability framework. What was the reaction of world leaders that were present there and other scientists? Can you say that now in Geneva 2022 presented a more advanced approach, a more conscious and more efficient, let's call it like this, approach towards sustainability than that embryo that was generated 50 years ago in Stockholm?
Yes, sure, because it's the role of science. Stockholm 50 years ago, the role of science was only diagnosing the problems. Science was not considered as a solution provider. And in Geneva, I stress the role of science as a solution provider, where every means to achieve sustainability is good, is valid, and is useful. But the role of science has the biggest effect, has the tremendous effect. The efficiency of achieving sustainability through science is much higher than any other means. So saying the role of science in this direction, stressing the role of science in direction, this is the key of Flogen sustainability framework, which I presented in Geneva. And by the way, this is more scientific approach in the concept of sustainability. So it is without science, you do not have sustainability. Not only science as a diagnostic tool This has been valid since 18th century. Since 18th century, when Malthus theory, Malthus theory predicted the population of the world will grow dramatically, and this will cause several issues around the world. And that was the model. The mathematics was good. The issue is, but we're speaking 18th century, but the problem is that the solution was searched outside science. So he was proposing solutions like we have to avoid marriages in order to limit people, limit the birth. We have to use prostitution against as a form of again. I mean, instead of marriage, to use prostitution, to use war to decrease the population, to all these things, theories that today are called racist. So we do not agree with those. Why? The problem is the model was good, the solution was proposed outside science, and they were racist and unacceptable today. So only
Yes.
science made possible all this theory and these predictions, dire prediction of catastrophe. Nothing happens, and we are in the same situation today. Science has to have the primary roles again in cooperation with governments and uh, and education and civil society in cooperation to achieve the three criteria of sustainability. If we don't achieve one criteria, we are not sustainable. This is very important, and this is our contribution within the sustainability framework. If you have the diagram there, because I didn't send it to you, but if you have the diagram, it's good to show in the screen. And I think we should close with this diagram because this is our major contribution in sustainability. Because science is one an indispensable goal pillar. Without science,
Hmm.
everything goes down.
Yes, exactly. Now, Dr. Florian, before Andy, I would just like to ask. I'm going to show the diagram here, but before showing the diagram, I have a question about sustainability. Yes, we had 50 years ago Stockholm. I remember that I went to elementary school in the 70s. So I was raised with the idea of greenhouse effect.
Yeah.
Yes. And I thought the world we wouldn't get to the 21st century. And now we've passed the 21st century. And as you say, catastrophe, catastrophe, catastrophe. What is the interest of this selling these catastrophic ideas instead of working together with Flogen, with Flogen or with science, like Flogen stimulates, for example?
Well, because there's or limited. This is the view of science. As always is looked. I mentioned it looks as a diagnostic tool. It's fine. It's perfect,
Hmm.
but
Okay,
it's not looked as a solution provider. The solution is search outside science.
I
That's
see.
I do not know why, but this is, and science has proven. Science literally saved India from food depletion. It is a new methods
Yes.
that made the production of food components go increase higher in a higher rate than the population growth. So it's science that can save the world, and we are in a still situation today. Why did they forgot science as a solution provider? That's a good question. It's a way of it's another study and another interview why this is was the reason
Very
about that.
good. Now
And
let's
so
just, in order to I don't want to hold you. I'm going to show the diagram here, and you can comment
yeah,
again. Like we see on the screen, you have social advancement, environmental protection, economic growth, and they
they have
merge.
three criteria. So
Yes,
these are developed for the first time in Rio, 92,
I see.
not in Sweden in 50 years ago. Sweden
Okay,
raised the awareness of limited resources and protection environment. But as a
okay,
concept of sustainability, as the three criteria was the first time in Rio 1992, and
okay.
now we come up with this sustainability framework, which differentiate between criteria and goals and pillars. This tones the
So,
criteria. If you fulfill the same time, you have sustainable development. But what are the actors that helps or impede? The
mhm,
science and technology, governments of management, and in the education and civil society. There are three pillars in a table of three pillars. Any of those goes down, the whole structure goes down. So those pillars are equally important and they have to cooperate with each other. So this is logic sustainability framework. And here also there is a relation between art and science, because art is a factor in human development, which is one of the criteria of
Yes.
sustainability. And you can have art like this old hotel and make it sustainable, although it is too old. And also, uh, we should treat this in another interview. Science can make an old building, an old historical building, sustainable. So, and also, science can decrease the cost of so-called luxury items. So, science can make the human life close to those so-called, we call it luxury, because why? Science made decreases the cost of things that we call luxury. So it's a good relation between art and science making improvement in human development index, and bringing the so-called, that those that considered 50 years ago luxury items are today are normal items. But this is a different field and
Okay,
different
so just before we
subject.
say goodbye,
Yeah,
next as
we
of
can
next
treat this in
Thursday,
another one.
every week we're going to have we're going to talk about science and innovation. Your point of view, you're going to bring the latest reviews, the latest innovations, the latest discoveries in the world of science and technology, and you're going to be commenting on it. Deal?
Yeah, sure.
So
We can try.
we are going to announce everybody the times and dates, but it's likely to be every Thursday. So I'd like to say goodbye. Thank everybody for the audience, and Dr. Florian, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yes, and you too, Mario.
Okay,
Have a
see you
great
every.
evening. Have a great night there. Great night. Have a good night there.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that's it, everybody. I'm Martin Yanis, and from Cabo Frio, Brazil, I'm saying goodbye, everyone. And Dr. Florian from Frankfurt also is saying see you next time. So that's it. Bye bye, guys.